Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we are continuing our series of Elvenar tournament tutorials, and we are going to be playing the Steel tournament. Everyone's favorite, certainly my favorite, especially in the late game, because that's literally hands down the easiest tournament out there. If you are at least mid to late game. Not necessarily true in the early game, but definitely is true in later game. So that's going to be great. So with that, I'll just quickly reiterate what the general setup. I mean, if you've seen the previous videos in this series, then you are familiar with that. So basically, as you can see, I already done the 1-star provinces. So here we're going to be doing 50 provinces in 2 stars, one by one. We'll split them into the first 20 in this video. That's because we will see all the matchups, how they work, and so on and so forth. And then supplementary video will take care of the provinces 21 to 50, taking a cut every 10 to see what the total losses are, what variability in losses for the same matchups, and so on and so forth. With that, I'll mention what city and the boosts that we are dealing with here, because for fighting that's important. Again, this is for the current, soon to be probably older version of the tournaments. That does not include the changes that are piloted in beta and soon on the international servers in 2020. So that's sort of the previous version of the tournament, which is currently live. So that's the Chapter 16 and Game City elves. No shortages of anything. We have troops. We have all military boosting and damage boosting ancient wonders. They're all level 11 to 12. So for the extra 17-18% damage boost for each troop type. We also have Martial Monastery at level 27, so that's almost 28% extra health boost. We also have Fed Evolution level 10 Fire Phoenix, so that's extra 50% damage to all our units of any type. And I also have 2 buildings, expiring boost buildings, which happen to be Enlightened Light Range, ELR at plus 50% to the light melee, light range, of course, and Unleashed Unit Upgrade for extra 25% health. That's actually somewhat excessive for this tournament, but hey, like, I have them anyway. So without further ado, let's jump in. Again, that's going to be a relatively straightforward tournament. And alright, and that's how our matchups are going to be, generally speaking. So there are 2 primary units that we are facing, and that's what going to be heavy melee, like those ones, the Cork Warriors, for instance, or Swamp Monsters. That's the main opposition unit. As well as mages, like these turnaround mages. So that's the 2 main units that we are facing against. And the counter unit, so the 3rd unit type that we are less happy to see usually, would be light melee, like those thieves here. So you can already see that that's a great matchup, because our primary units are going to be light range. In fact, with the exception of a single matchup where we're going to be using frog princes, we will be using just light range. And by light range I mean mostly poison dreads. Well, that's great because on our side we have highest initiative ranged units in light range, and on opponent sides we have heavy melee as a primary unit, which are the slowest moving units out there. They're melee, they are moving slowly. They have mages that are also not exactly ranged. And even the counter units, what's supposed to do well against our primary units, are light melee, which are not exactly amazing against light range. So yeah, that's going to be a good tournament for us. So with that, let's see what we have here again. The first 9 provinces have different matchups, so we don't talk necessarily about all the matchups we will encounter here because they're not going to repeat. But that's fairly representative how you may see things. So mostly heavy melee, a little bit of mages, and some counter units here. So in those cases, the general rule of thumb in this tournament is very easy, the way I play it. Again, with the exception of a single matchup, we always go light range. We don't really care about even 2 or 3 counter units here because they are light melee against our light range. They will still do very well. And the rule is like following. If we have equal amounts of heavy melee and mages, then we go with our barracks unit, which is elite archer. Not because they're not necessarily better, but again, these are free units. I don't produce them manually, and I need to spend them somewhere. So in the balanced setups, I use barracks unit. If we have more heavy melee, which is in most cases, then we go with our poison dryad. And as you can see, poison dryad is a ranged unit which specialized against heavy melee. And look at those boosts. We have plus 90% damage on top of what we already have in boosts. And we have 80% reduction for the heavy melees that even if they manage to get close to us, which probably won't happen. So yeah, the opponents are not going to have a good time. And in a few cases when we have more mages than heavy melee, then we are going with our ranger units. So ranger units are good against heavy melee, but they are mage specialists. And again, basically even better boosts against mages, plus 90 and minus 90, it's 10 times damage reduction. And they also happen to have 4 attack range versus 3 on the poison dryads. So overall, we have a good matchup. Again, like just briefly looking at the enemy units here. So we have Orc Warriors. Again, obviously later on they're going to be 3 stars, but they are specializing against light melee, not against heavy range. I mean, none of them we will really see here. So yeah, those units are not going to have a good time. These ones are balanced, so there's that. Mages here are specializing, well, Thorn mages specialize against heavy melee, which we're not going to be using. And the only matchup where we will see heavy range versus mages. These mages are not specializing against heavy range, even though they still have pretty decent damage reduction. And our counter units, or enemy counter units, are thieves. In this case, are balanced. So they're kind of okay against light range, but you see they only have extra damage boost and no damage reduction, which is terrible for melee units because, well, the extra damage is not going to help them if they're dead by the time they get to our light range units. And because they have no damage reduction, well, yeah, they're going to be dead. So there's that. That's in a nutshell how we're going to play this tournament. So again, in this case, that's our setup. More heavy melee than mages, so we go with poison dryads. And that went really well despite two counter units. Okay, that's a balanced matchup, 1-1, so we go with our archers. And you will see that overall losses would be, well, it's the lowest by far in all the tournament types, again, in the later game. Okay, more heavy melee, Dryads. We're still losing about 10% here, by the way, so that does happen. But remember, these are not the final matchups, so some of them are not quite the same. Yeah, like for instance, this matchup we are not going to be seeing in provinces 10 plus. Yeah, so that's going to be a great matchup. So we will see pure heavy melee, I think, and our heavy melee range specialists. Yep. Well, actually, they managed to do a little bit of damage, but that's kind of fairly representative. That's the kind of losses you can expect. Yep. Our barrack units here for the 1-1, 2-2. So again, barracks unit. Yeah, and you see even then, like, we experience very low losses. All right. One and one, so our barracks unit. Okay, mostly heavy melee and Dryads. And they did very well there. You will notice that in countries where we have more mages than heavy melee are few and far between. Yeah, you see, like, there's zero losses at all, despite there being a counter unit of swords and two mages. Yeah, that still doesn't matter. 1-1, archers, no even counter units, so no losses. It's a great tournament. Well, except for the fact that, again, most people can and do go far so far. Oh, yeah, before we go there, yeah, that's the matchup, well, one of the matchups that I was talking about. So here we have more mages than heavy melee. So we go with rangers, even though, again, like, on paper, that doesn't look like a great matchup. Okay, we have two units that we're great against, one which we were good against, and two sort of counter units out of 5. That doesn't sound exactly amazing, but as I said, these are light melees against our light range. As you can see, they're not going to have a good time. Even with two sort of counter units, we have 0 losses. 0. That's nice. Yeah, and then I just said that we don't see that many ranger encounters. Well, we just had 2 in a row. Okay, that's another Dryad one. So yeah, I was just saying that people tend to go deep in the steel tournaments because, again, they're easy. I see, like, 0 losses. And yeah, if you're fighting manually, you can literally have 0 losses in quite a few encounters if you can spend the time. So yeah, so people spend a lot of well, time in these tournaments because they go deep, and that's a lot of clicking. So, well, it's great for raking points and maybe even rewards to the extent that is a lot of clicking if you go deep in the steel tournaments. Well, with the changes as they're supposed to be coming in, that's probably not going to be a thing anymore. Alright, again, 2 mages, 1 heavy melee, that's our ranger setup. Forest Warden and 3 stars. Alright, so we're already done with 5. 1-1. Archers. Not bad. 2-2, archers again. Yeah, you see where we use archers, we don't do as well. The reason being, again, take a look at what they have here. Against mages, they have a very good damage increase, plus 90, but no damage reduction. Remember, rangers have plus 90, minus 90 on the mages. So yeah, that if mages get to them, which they probably will, at least some of them, they will take losses. Well, not losses, but damage. And if we have a melee, again, like good damage, but the damage reduction is not, I mean, it's good, but not that amazing. 50% 2 times. Versus 5 and 10 times for our specialist units. So yeah, so when we use archers, we do see high losses. Again, that's the common setup as I do. Yeah, 3 and 3. That's not something we will see in 10 plus provinces, but here we do. Yeah, we did take some losses, maybe 10-15%. I need to use the archers somewhere, and that's the perfect opportunity to do so. Even at higher losses, they're effectively free. Again, 2 mages, 1 heavy melee, that's our rangers. And mostly heavy melee, that's dreads. Yeah, that went really well. And yeah, that's our favorite matchup. Again, yeah, they still somehow managed to get to our dreads. So that happens. Yeah, you see, like in this one, in other tournaments that wouldn't be amazing, because we do have 4 out of 7 units that we are good against, again, because we're using barracks, not amazing. And the whole 3 counter units, normally I wouldn't go with matchups with 3 counter units. But in this tournament, 3 counter units, as you can see, not a problem. Okay, we got a little, maybe 10-15%. With 3 counter units, that's very good by other tournament standards. Alright, here comes our Dread matchup again. 2 and 2, so that's archers. 3 and 3, archers again, with 2 counter units. We'll have less archer matchups in 10 plus, so we will have less of the balanced setups like we saw right now. But you will see that soon, because we're almost there. It's province number 9. That's still a special case. Nice. Okay, mostly heavy melee, so dreads. Balanced, archers. Yeah, more losses as you can see. Okay, mostly heavy melee, so dreads. Alright. Okay, so we are done with 9 provinces. And starting with province number 10, now that's our regular matchups that we're gonna be seeing from the same pool until forever. And yeah, that's a great matchup. No counter units, mostly heavy melee, so Dryads, as you can see, well, almost 0 losses. There was some nominal one, but not much. And again, Dryad matchup, mostly heavy melee, yeah, less than 5% loss. Yeah, again, look, on paper that wouldn't be a great matchup, and again, it's worse than some others. We have 2 heavy melee, 1 mage unit, so we go with Dryads, and we have 3 counter units in, yeah, so let's see, there's 3-star units. Yeah, you see they still have a damage increase, plus 60, but they still have no damage reduction against our light range, so yeah, that's not gonna be a good day for them. And yeah, that's actually more than I expect. But still, think about this. 3 counter units and we still lost, what, about 20%. And that's actually on the high side. Normally you would see less. Okay, and that's the matchup that we haven't seen yet. And that's the only matchup when we're going to go with the frogs. So that's 4 heavy melee and 2 mages. Not a great matchup in general, because that's the composition is weird. You definitely don't want to go with any of our light range, because, I mean, well, these are weak. I mean, you'll still win probably, but that's like 4 sort of counter units that can hit you hard if they get to you, and they probably will survive for some time. Another strong unit type against light, not another, actually, strong unit types against light melee would be heavy melee, but again, while they would be okay, and they would be good against light melee to the extent that it's melee versus melee, but they will have 2 mages here who also happen to be specialists versus heavy melee, and that's not great. Again, we'll probably win, but we'll take some losses. And that's why we go with Frog Princess here. So Frog Princess just completely obliterate light range. Well, we can actually click here. You can see they're specialists, so they have 90% damage increase and 70% damage reduction against them. So yeah, against pure light melee, that's your unit. They're not as amazing against mages, so they're going to take some losses here. But again, here we have Thornwar mages, even at 3 stars. They are not specializing against heavy range. So they still have pretty decent damage reduction, but at least they don't have a massive damage increase. So, and the range is certainly an advantage for the frogs. But that's literally the single encounter where we use frogs. And as you can see, yeah, so we are looking at about 10%, which is kind of representative. Alright. So now we saw the matchup with frogs. Literally all other matchups in 10 plus we're going to be doing with light range. So Dryads again, mostly heavy melee. Yeah, not bad. Again, we go Dryads. We could go for this matchup, 1 heavy melee, 1 light range with heavy melee. Yeah, that's our ranger. So for no counter units, but again, like, we will be fielding melee in this case, which means that we will be taking some losses. And yeah, overall, it's basically not a good deal with the units and boosts that I have. So I still go Dryads in those matchups. Okay, so 1-on-1. So here's our archer matchup. Yeah, 10%. Unexpected. All right. Okay, so not too bad. Dryads again. And as I mentioned already, by far, Dryads are the most used unit the way I played. So yeah, again, that's the same matchup I was just talking about. So we can go heavy melee with probably Valorians or just Trans. They will do okay. Well, they will do well, actually, but even despite the fact that we have 1 unit we're great against and 1 sort of counter units, Dryads do very well here, even though we did take some losses. That's probably on the heavier side than usual. Alright. Okay, Dryads again. Nice. And here come Dryads. And that's the same matchup we have seen already several times recently. I go Dryads. So yeah, you see, that's sometimes that goes exactly like that. we literally had 0 losses here. And at the time we actually had quite a bit more, well, more than that. The Dreads do well in that matchup. That's a Ranger because, yeah, and 0 losses here again, despite 2 sort of counter units in here. So counter units in the Steel tournament are not very effective for the enemies. Alright, so Dreads again, not even counter units, so yep, that went really well. Well, there was some nominal loss, but effectively 0. Oops. And here goes our Dread matchup again. And now we have actually 0 losses. Yeah, again, you see 3 counter units, but 2 heavy melee and 1 mage, so we go with Dreads. And again, look, 3 counter units, we've lost, what, 10%? Not too bad. And that's our one and only frog matchup. 4 light melee, 2 mages. Yep, the same, but 10%. Alright. Let's see, that's the same matchup that we just saw. Yeah, and you see in this case we actually lost 20%, so quite a bit more than usual. Wow, that's again frog matchup. On the roll. Yep, not too bad. These are not very common because it's the only matchup out there. Yep. And Dreads again. Not too shabby. And here we go, Dreads. And Rangers, 2 mages, 1 heavy melee. And here we did take some losses, and in the previous same encounter we didn't take any losses. Nice, actually no losses. And that's one of our favorites. You can go here with the Blossom Princesses for pure light, heavy melee. And that would also do well, but you see, no need. We did take 0 losses here, regardless. Alright. Okay, that's our Ranger matchup. We take some losses here. Nice. And again, that's you see, yeah, in this case we did take, well, losses if you... Yeah, the scales for losses, or noticeable losses, again, that's the Ranger matchup, more mages than heavy melee. I don't think we have seen this one before. The scales are very different. What I consider here more than normal, well, true, for pretty much any other tournament would be an amazingly low losses. But here the norm is more like 0 losses, and anything more than that is like, yeah, not amazing. While in other tournaments, and especially more difficult tournaments like Scrolls, let's say, yeah, that's probably the heaviest losses we experience. Here would be the lightest losses we may possibly experience in those tournaments on per encounter basis. The differences are pretty drastic. I think if I remember correctly, the difference is almost 3 times in terms of total losses, yeah, 1-1, so archers, between Steel tournament, again the way I played, and the Scrolls tournament. So I'd be losing in total, I think about probably less than 200 squads for the Steel tournament, all in all, and almost 600 squads for the Scroll. So yeah, the differences are not subtle. Steel is an easy tournament, a low loss tournament if you want. Alright, and that brings us to province number 20. Nice. As I said, this one will go quickly. So mostly melee, nice, no losses. Yeah, mostly heavy melee, dreads. And again, well, some nominal losses. That would be dreads again, but will probably take a bit more. Here, yep, like 10%. And finally, we get another frog. Matchup, or yeah, about 10%-ish. All right, so we've got 20 provinces, and now let's see what we have in terms of losses. All right, and the amazing numbers that we're gonna see in this tournament. All we've lost in 20, remember we did 20 provinces. That took us only 14 squads. 14 squads, that's it. And so that's that. We will continue with provinces, well, 21 to 50, and see how much we do in terms of losses in there, as well as to see what the variability of matchups. But with that, so hopefully I'll see you there. If you like the content, please like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what do you think about that. And that, I'll see you soon. Bye.